Divorce mediation is powerful for people who want control over their future. They want to protect their kids. They want to spend less money on attorneys and other professionals and move forward. But mediation is only as good as the preparation you bring to it. People who mediate are happier with the process, happier with the result, and are better able to cooperate, especially around the kids. Is mediation always right? No. There are certainly situations where it's not safe. We'll talk about those later. Hi there. If you're listening to this podcast right now, you're likely at a crossroads. Maybe you've decided divorce is your best path forward. Maybe you're still weighing your options. Either way, you're thinking about mediation, and you want to know what that really means and how to prepare. But before we begin, here's a quick note. This podcast is designed to share ideas, stories, and insights from my years working in the mental health field, helping individuals navigate divorce, and from my own personal experiences. I'm not a therapist, attorney, or doctor, so this podcast is meant to complement, not replace professional guidance for such qualified experts. Any strategies you develop from what you learned today should be discussed with your attorney. Now listen, I see you. I know this is hard. Divorce is one of life's most stressful transitions. It brings grief, fear, anger, uncertainty, sometimes all within the same hour. But here's what I need you to know. You have more control than you think. Strategic preparation makes a difference between a settlement you can live with and one that haunts you for years. Today, we're going to walk through divorce mediation from start to finish, what it is, how it's different from court, and how to make decisions today that serve you well 10, even 20 years down the road. So let's go. Mediation versus a court, the differences that matter. Divorce mediation is where you and your spouse work with a neutral third party to negotiate terms yourself, rather than having a judge decide. The mediator doesn't take sides. Their job, facilitate communication and guide you towards agreements that work. Compare that to litigation. Attorneys, motions, evidence, and eventually a judge makes binding decisions about your property, children, money, and future. It's an adversarial system designed for one thing: winning. Here's why mediation matters. Control. You regain control. You can craft creative solutions a judge would never order. In court, one-size-fits-all orders with zero room for your unique circumstances. Cost and time. Most mediations complete in 4 to 6 sessions, depending on how long the sessions are. Sometimes they run 2 to 8 hours, depending on the mediator and the state you're in. Straightforward cases, 2 to 3 sessions. The entire process typically takes 3 to 6 months. Costs $3,000 to $7,500 for both spouses, not including legal fees. Litigation, easily $15,000 to $30,000 per spouse. Complex cases, 6, sometimes even 7 figures in court. Confidentiality. Mediation is private. Court is public. Everything becomes part of the public record. Your future relationship. This is huge when you have kids. 2005 research review found mediation leads to remarkably improved relationships between divorced parents, even 12 years later. 28% of non-residential parents who mediated saw their children weekly, compared to only 9% who litigated. 36% who litigated hadn't seen their children in the past year, compared to 16% who mediated. Why? Litigation positions you as opponents. Mediation positions you as problem solvers. A 2010 meta-analysis found people who mediate are happier with the process, happier with the result, and are better able to cooperate, especially around the kids. Is mediation always right? No. There are certainly situations where it's not safe. We'll talk about those later. But for most couples who can communicate minimally and want dignity and control, mediation is powerful. When preparing for mediation, you got to think in 3 timelines: short-term, medium-term, and long-term. Most people are in crisis mode, thinking about next week, but your decisions will shape your life and your kids for decades. Let's talk about short-term. We define that as 6 to 12 months. Managing immediate safety and stability. Emotional, physical, financial. A safe place to live, cash for essentials, bills covered, physical safety. If there's domestic violence, coercive control, or serious substance abuse, protecting yourself and your children is priority 1, period. You're also managing high emotions and establishing temporary agreements. Where are you living? How are the kids transitioning? Who's paying for what? These set the tone. And here's what's strategic: self-care, therapy, support, eating and sleeping well. It's not optional. You need to function and make decisions. The medium term, 1 to 3 years. You're stabilizing and rebuilding. Housing for this chapter. schooling for kids, your career, budget, emergency fund, adjusting lifestyle to single income. For parents, establishing new routines, holidays, communication, what happens when one wants to move. Here's a mistake I see often. People agree to something short-term just to get it over with, like a parenting schedule requiring 2 hours of driving every weekend because you're desperate. Fast forward 18 months, exhausted, resentful, back in court. That's what we're trying to avoid. Long-term, 3 to 20 plus years, the life you're building, the future you want, the legacy for your kids, financially, retirement, wealth building, protecting assets, how today's property division affects taxes 5 years from now, how spousal support impacts mortgage qualification, what happens to your retirement accounts. For parents, your kids as teenagers and young adults, that schedule that works when kids are 5 and 7 might not work when they're 15 wanting weekends with friends. Listen, a 2019 study found 46% of children in high conflict divorce families showed heightened risks of PTSD. Changes in parental conflict were directly related to changes in child PTSD symptoms. When parents de-escalate, kids heal. Long-term thinking creates a stable, low-conflict foundation that lets your children thrive. For example, you're negotiating property. Short-term thinking, I want the house because it's familiar. Long-term thinking, can I afford this on one income? What happens when the roof needs replacing? Will this trap me in the location, limiting my job opportunities? Am I trading long-term security for short-term comfort? Think it through with all three timelines. Get your foundation solid. You can't negotiate effectively without understanding what you're negotiating about, period. Get educated. Before your first session, get independent legal advice, get financial clarity, and understand basic legal concepts. You need a lawyer to educate you. What does the law say about property division, spousal support, child support? What is in the best interest of the children where you live? Here's what most don't realize. An experienced family law attorney understands your local judges and how your jurisdiction handles cases. They know which judges favor joint custody, who's strict about child support, practical realities in your local court. This information is invaluable. A good lawyer helps you understand the range of likely outcomes based on your jurisdiction. That range becomes your BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. If you understand what might happen in court, you can evaluate whether the mediation proposal is actually fair. At minimum, consult before mediation starts and before you sign anything. That consultation might cost several $100s, but it could save you tens of thousands of dollars and a lot of emotional stress and pain. Get financial clarity, full financial disclosure, tax returns, at least 3 years, bank statements, investment accounts, retirement accounts, credit card statements, loans, mortgage statements, business financial statements when applicable. List all assets and debts, everything, house, car, retirement, savings, college funds, timeshare, furniture, tools, collections, debt side, mortgage, car loans, credit cards, student loans, medical debt, personal loans, business debt. Understand your expenses. What does it actually cost for you to live each month? Not what you hope, what it actually costs. The true reality. Everything. Don't miss a thing. Dividing assets isn't about equal. It's understanding tax consequences. House versus retirement account. They're not equivalent. Think through these things or consult a certified divorce financial analyst. Every document you gather is one less thing that derails mediation later. Transparency builds trust. Prepare your financial capacity. Understand your borrowing capacity before mediation. If you're considering buying out your spouse's share of the home, find out. Can you qualify for a mortgage on your income? What rate? What payment? Can you afford it? Here's something many don't know. Sometimes you can assume the existing mortgage instead of refinancing. This is huge, especially when you're locked in at a low rate, saving significant money if your current rate is lower. Not all mortgages are assumable, but research this and know before you go to mediation. Get pre-qualified beforehand. Walk in with concrete numbers, not hopes. Get creative. Mediation shines here. Craft creative solutions a judge would never order. Sometimes one spouse won't give you something directly to the other. Heirloom, retirement accounts, property with sentimental value. But mediation isn't about dividing everything down the middle. It's finding solutions that serve everyone's interests, especially children. Instead of, I won't give them X, think trust for the kids maybe, education fund contributions, assets eventually go to the children. Don't want your ex to get half your retirement? What if you contribute more towards college? Maintain life insurance with kids as beneficiaries. Keep retirement intact, but give larger home equity share. Move from I won't give them anything, to how can we structure this to serve our family, especially the kids. Address the future issues now. Your kids will turn 16, need a car, apply to college. If you haven't discussed these, you're setting yourself up for conflict later. Talk about first car, auto insurance for teens, college expenses, weddings, extracurriculars, special needs requiring ongoing support. Think beyond what the law requires. Think about what your family will actually need. Also understand what's modifiable. Comfort and clarity. Certain parts can be modified later if circumstances change. Others are set in stone. What can be modified? Well, of course, this matters based on the jurisdiction that you live. Child support, substantial change in circumstances. Parenting time and custody as the children grow. And spousal supports, which definitely varies by jurisdiction. What cannot be modified? Property division. Once it's approved, it's final. Debt allocation, buyouts and lump sum payments. Why this matters? Don't let perfect be the enemy of good on modifiable issues. Not sure about parenting schedules? Start with something reasonable, knowing that you can always adjust it. But property division? That's your one shot. Don't rush it. Get it right because you can't fix it later. Use the if this went to court question. Ask your attorney, if this went to court, what would the likely outcome be? This grounds expectations in reality. The law is the law. What matters is what a judge would likely order. Feel you deserve 70% of assets because your spouse had an affair? If your state is no fault where adultery doesn't impact property division, a judge likely won't give you extra. Understanding that helps you negotiate from reality, not emotion. Flip side, worried about asking for spousal support because it feels greedy? If the law says you're entitled based on marriage length and income disparity, ask for it. Don't leave money on the table being nice. Apply 2 critical rules. The 5-year rule. This one's really important. Before you agree to something or dig in, ask, will this truly matter in 5 years? That furniture you're arguing about, in 5 years, you won't remember the fight. That extra vacation week, in 5 years, kids' schedules will have changed so much the original agreement will likely need some sort of modification. Use this to distinguish between things that truly impact long-term well-being and things that feel important because you're hurt. The 5-second rule. When emotions rise in mediation, when your spouse triggers you or their attorney, pause. Take 5 seconds. Count to 5 backwards before responding. 5 seconds gives your nervous system a chance to downregulate. You choose your response instead of reacting. Those 5 seconds can save you from derailing an entire session, from agreeing to something out of frustration or saying no to something good because you're upset. Practice this now. It's a skill that gets easier with practice. Best interests of the children. It's a legal standard, but it's also ethical and emotional. Here's what it means in real life. Stability and predictability. Kids thrive on routine. They need to know where they're sleeping tonight, the plan for the weekend, when they'll see each parent. Research shows children in divorced families do better with predictable schedules and stable living. A 2019 WHO report found children's adjustment problems are strongly mediated by interparental conflict. It's not divorce that harms kids, it's instability, conflict, and chaos. Quality relationships with both parents. Unless there's a serious safety issue, children benefit from strong relationships with both parents. That requires time, consistency, and both parents supporting it. And do note, many times parents step up through a divorce and post-divorce. Emory's 12-year study. Parents who mediated maintained far more frequent contact with children than those who litigated. 59% who mediated talked to children weekly or more, compared to 14% who litigated. How you handle divorce, adversaries or co-parents, directly impacts your children's long-term relationship with both of you. Minimize conflict exposure. Non-negotiable. Children should never be exposed to parental conflict. Not arguments, not insults, not courtroom drama. Research shows parental conflict, not divorce, is the primary predictor of poor outcomes. A 2021 study found children's fear of abandonment, triggered by parental conflict, predicted mental health problems 10 months later. In high conflict divorces, children were at elevated risk for conduct problems, hyperactivity, academic difficulties, and depressed mood. What does this look like? Don't fight in front of the kids. Don't badmouth your ex. Use a parenting app or email for logistics. Create detailed written parenting plans, reducing disagreement opportunities. Developmental appropriateness. What works for a 2-year-old doesn't work for a 12-year-old. Infants and toddlers under 3. Frequent, shorter visits where both parents work best. Young children from secure attachment through repetition and consistency. Preschool age 3 to 5. Kids can handle overnights and longer visits, but need predictability. Elementary age, 5 to 10, more flexible. They can handle week on, week off, but they're building friendships and getting involved in activities. Accommodate soccer practice and sleepovers, not just your convenience. Middle and high schools. Kids want to provide input. Busy social lives, school demands, jobs, extracurriculars. Rigid schedules might not work. Flexibility becomes key. Ask in mediation, are we designing this parenting plan for our children's needs or for ours? Some child-focused questions. How can we minimize transitions while giving meaningful time with both of us? What routines and rituals are most important, and how can we maintain those in both homes? How will we handle holidays, birthdays, vacations in a way that feels fair and predictable? What's our plan for communication when kids are with the other parent? How will we handle decisions about education, healthcare, and extracurriculars? How will we share information so both parents can be involved? What's our plan for introducing new partners and handling blended family dynamics? None of these are about winning. They're about building a framework, protecting your children's well-being. And of course, ask your attorney and your mediator because they've seen all this before and probably have some really good advice. Mediation is hard. You're negotiating the end of your marriage, making decisions about money, home, kids' futures. Stay as calm as you can, rational, and maintain a collaborative environment. That's asking a lot. So let me normalize this. It's okay to have big feelings, anger, sadness, fear. They're all valid, but those emotions cannot drive your decisions. Decisions made from anger or fear or desperation are decisions you'll regret. Emotional regulation. Think of this not as suppressing feelings, but managing them so they don't hijack your ability to think clearly. Work with a therapist and/or coach. Divorce is a grieving process. You're mourning the future you thought you'd have. A therapist helps you process that grief. Some people work with a divorce coach, someone who helps you prepare for sessions, practice conversations, stay focused on long-term goals. Some have their coach on call the day of mediation or bring their coach directly into sessions. This backup makes a huge difference. Use grounding techniques, deep breathing, box breathing, 4 counts in, hold for 4, 4 counts out, activate your parasympathetic nervous system. Know your triggers. What pushes your buttons? When your spouse interrupts, brings up the past, uses a certain tone. Knowing triggers lets you plan, practice responses. Tell your mediator in a private session. Take breaks. If you feel flooded, heart racing, can't think straight, about to say something you'll regret, ask for a break. Step outside, get water, breathe, come back when you're reset. Separate positions from interests. A position is what you say you want. An interest is why you want it. Your position. I want the house. Your interest. I want stability for the kids, and I don't want them to change schools. Argue about positions, and you get stuck. Talk about interests, you find creative solutions. Maybe the real issue is keeping kids in the same school district. Other houses nearby? Can one rent in the neighborhood for a year while you sell and split the proceeds? When you catch yourself saying, I want X, ask, why? What need am I trying to meet? That opens up options. Also, use de-escalating language. Words matter. Instead of, you never help with the kids, try, I've been handling most school pickups. Can we share this more evenly? Instead of, you're being unreasonable, try, I'm having trouble understanding your perspective. Can you please help me see your point of view? You're not being weak, you're being strategic. You're lowering the temperature so you can solve problems. Strategic preparation. Mediation isn't about showing up and hoping. It's going in with a clear sense of what you need, what you'll trade, and what your alternatives are. Clarify your non-negotiables versus flexibility. Make 2 lists. List 1, non-negotiables, things you absolutely need. Maybe 50% parenting time. Maybe keeping a certain retirement account. Maybe staying in the family home until kids graduate. These aren't wants. These are things you cannot compromise on without seriously harming your well-being. List 2, flexibility. Maybe you don't care which car as long as it's reliable. Maybe you take less spousal support if you don't have to pay your ex's credit card debt. Maybe you're flexible on exact parenting schedules as long as you get roughly equal time. This clarity helps you know when to dig in and when to compromise. Define good enough. Important mindset shift. You're not aiming for perfect, you're aiming for good enough. Perfect doesn't exist. No outcomes where both walk away thrilled getting everything you wanted. But good enough, you can live with the agreement. Terms are fair, even if not ideal. You're not sacrificing long-term security or your relationship with your kids. You're not taking on so much debt or giving up so much income that you can't rebuild. Good enough is actually pretty good because the alternative, high conflict litigation, spending tens of thousands, damaging your relationship with ex and kids, is far worse. Identify your BATNA. We talked about this a little earlier. It stands for Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement. It's from the book, Getting to Yes. one of the most powerful negotiation tools. Your BATNA is what you'll do if mediation fails. For most, it's going to court and letting a judge decide. Know your BATNA before negotiating. It's your benchmark. If the offer on the table is better than your BATNA, probably take it. If worse, keep negotiating or walk away. For example, negotiating spousal support. Your lawyer said, based on guidelines and calculations, you'd likely get $2,000 monthly for 5 years if a judge decided. That's your BATNA. In mediation, your spouse offers $1,500 monthly for 4 years. That's worse than your BATNA. Does that mean reject it? Not necessarily. Maybe you value certainty and speed of mediation. Maybe there are other issues where your spouse is giving more, but at least you know where you stand. Trade-offs and package deals. One of the most powerful tools, the trade-off, you give on something that matters less in exchange for getting something that matters more to you. You care deeply about getting the house, but don't care about the vacation timeshare. Offer, I'll let you have the timeshare if you let me buy out your half of the house at a slightly below market valuation. Want more parenting time, but spouse wants to pay less child support? I'll agree to 60-40 parenting split instead of 50-50 if you agree to the state guideline amount for child support. These work because they both let you prioritize what you actually care about. Frame proposals around mutual gains, especially with the kids. Frame proposals as benefiting everybody. Instead of, I want kids every weekend because I deserve it, try, I think the kids would benefit from consistent weekend time with each of us, so they can build strong routines with both families. How about we alternate weekends? When you position proposals as solving a shared problem rather than serving your own interests, your spouse is more likely to listen. So what are some of the good questions to ask your mediator? What training do you currently have? Look for at least 40 plus hours plus continuing education. What's your background? Many mediators are attorneys or they're financial experts. Sometimes they're therapists for parenting. Are you certified or licensed? How many divorce mediations have you handled? Look for dozens or hundreds. How do you define success? Should be a comprehensive written settlement where both feel fair. How do you handle high conflict or power imbalances? What is your fee structure? What's included in your services? What are some of the questions to ask your mediator? What training do you currently have? Look for at least 40 hours plus continuing education. What's your background? Some are lawyers, some are financial professionals, some are therapists. Are you certified or licensed? How many divorce mediations have you handled? Look for dozens or hundreds. How do you define success? How do you handle high conflict or power imbalances? What's your fee structure? What's included in your services? Mediation doesn't mean you go alone. Many people build a team for before, during, and post mediation. First, let's start with attorneys. Each has a lawyer that you can consult with between sessions. You bring proposals to, they review, give feedback, you go back informed. Some have attorneys attend sessions, especially if financial or legal issues are complex or there's a power imbalance or a high net worth. Divorce coaches. They help you prepare emotionally and strategically. They help you practice conversations and role play. They stay focused on long-term goals. Some have their coach on call that day, or they bring their coach into the actual sessions. Financial neutrals. If a financial situation is complex, hire neutral financial experts, certified divorce financial analyst, or a CPA who analyzes numbers and presents both options to both. You especially want to use them for tax consequences. Child specialists. If stuck on parenting, some mediators bring in child psychologists for input on what's age appropriate and what the research says. Key, these professionals support mediation. They're not there to escalate the conflict. Addressing power imbalances. Power imbalances are common. One controls finances, one is more articulate, one is more legal knowledge. Good mediators spot and address this. They give the less assertive party more time. They use caucuses so each can speak freely. They slow down if one party seems confused. They suggest both consult with attorneys to level the playing field. But if you feel you're at a disadvantage, your spouse dominates, you don't understand the financials, you feel pressured, speak up. Talk to the mediator privately. Talk to your attorney. Don't go along with someone just because you want it over. Here are some common pitfalls. Coming unprepared. Without financial documents, clear sense of needs, understanding legal rights, you're at a huge disadvantage. Do your homework, gather documents, consult your lawyer, make your lists, and know your BATNA. Now, this one I want to bring up with my own clients happens very often. The attorneys will speak to their client the night before, and they don't really give them enough time to understand the process or understand the documents or the negotiation. So being prepared is probably the most important thing you can do. Another pitfall, negotiating from anger or revenge. Revenge is expensive. Litigation is expensive. At the end, you're not happier. You're broke and still angry. The fix for this is channel anger into therapy or journaling, anywhere but at the mediation. Your job, advocate for your future. Don't punish your past. This is about your future. This is about your kids. This is about long-term decision-making. Number 3, using your kids as bargaining chips. I'll agree to that financial term if you give me more custody time. Kids are not commodities. Every study shows using kids as leverage harms them. The fix for this, make parenting decisions based on what's best for the kids. Financial decisions based on what's fair financially. Don't conflate them. 4th, agreeing just to get it over with. After hours of negotiation, you might just want it to end. But later comes fast. Modifying court orders are a pain. The fix, if you feel pressured, take a break, go home, think overnight, run it by a lawyer. Good mediators won't pressure you. 5, ignoring tax and long-term implications. Taking the house might seem like a win, but if you can't afford it on one income, it's a loss. A fix, consult a financial professional, run the numbers, think long-term, understand the tax consequences. 6, failing to plan for implementation. Does your agreement actually work in real life? Is it specific enough? Is it flexible enough? The fix for this is reality testing before signing. Walk through a typical week. Walk through holidays. Build in mechanisms for resolving disputes. Make language clear and specific. Here are some examples when mediation isn't appropriate. Domestic violence and coercive control. If there's been physical, sexual, or severe emotional abuse, mediation might not be safe. Same with ongoing coercive control, manipulation, threats, isolation, economic control. Why? Mediation requires both parties to negotiate on roughly equal footing. If you're afraid of your spouse, conditioned to defer, that dynamic doesn't disappear with a mediator. You might agree out of fear, not because it's fair. What do? Prioritize your safety. Work with domestic violence advocates. Consult an attorney who understands abuse dynamics. You might need litigation with strong legal protection or highly modified mediation. Shuttle mediation, where you're never in the same room, or mediation with your lawyer present. That's what shuttled mediation is. If you're feeling pressured to mediate and don't feel safe, speak up. You have the right to say no. You don't have to sign. Hidden assets and chronic dishonesty. Mediation requires transparency. If your spouse hides money, undervalues assets, lies about income, runs up secret debts, mediation might not. What to do? You might need formal discovery litigation offers, subpoena bank records, depose spouse under oath, hire forensic accountants. Once you have the clear financial picture, maybe return to mediation. Severe mental health or substance abuse. If your spouse is in the grip of active addiction or severe untreated mental illness, they might not participate meaningfully. They might make an agreement they can't keep or be too impaired to think through implications. What do? Treatment should happen before or alongside the legal process. The court might appoint a guardian ad litem or require supervised mediation. You might need the court system with the appropriate safeguards. Some couples are so high conflict they can't have a conversation without screaming or shutoffs. Traditional mediation might not work, but you might do shuttle mediation. Separate rooms, mediator goes back and forth, or benefits from pre-mediation coaching or therapy to work on communication. Bottom line, mediation is voluntary. If it's not working, if you don't feel safe, you can stop. You can pivot to litigation. The goal is a fair outcome. But no, most cases don't fall into these extreme categories. Most people can mediate successfully, even if angry, sad, or scared. Remember, divorce is typically two decent human beings whose marriage just doesn't work. So always assume the best before being proven the worst. Make it work in real life. You've done it. You've reached agreement. You've signed the documents. It's judge-approved settlement. Divorce is final. Now what? The hardest part isn't about reaching the agreement. The hardest part is living it. Reality test it. Even before you sign, walk through it in detail. Imagine the typical week. Who picks up the kids Tuesday? Takes them to soccer Thursday? What happens if a work meeting runs late? Imagine the holidays. You've agreed to alternate Thanksgiving and Christmas. But what does that mean? Does Thanksgiving start Wednesday night or Thursday morning? And Thursday night or Sunday? The more specific and detailed you are, the fewer fights and lack of confusion later. If you have children, build routines that support the kids. Consistency across both homes helps them adjust. It doesn't mean both homes are identical, but that the kids are adaptable. But basic alignment on bedtime, screen time rules, homework, and discipline, that really helps. It also means keeping kids out of the middle. Don't use them as messengers. Don't quiz them about the other parent's house. Don't badmouth your ex in front of them. Plan for check-ins. Life changes, kids grow, jobs change, people move, remarry, have more kids. Your agreements need to accommodate that. And I will say personally, my ex and I do this all the time when we have issues or things that we need to discuss, and it really helps. Build in these regular check-ins, maybe once a year, maybe every 6 months, maybe once a week. Sit down or a video call or exchange emails and talk about whether the agreement is still working. Is the parenting schedule manageable? Are kids thriving? Does anything need adjusting? Some families do parent summits a few times a year. They review the calendar. They talk about upcoming events. They address issues. It sounds formal, but it works because it creates structured time for those conversations instead of everything being reactive. And when it comes to holidays, discuss the winter break, Christmas, Hanukkah, and New Year's in August or September. Trust me on this. You don't want to make decisions at the last minute because then it can definitely flare up. Know when to return to mediation. If something isn't working, you need to modify a parenting schedule, a financial situation has changed, and support needs adjustments. Consider going back to mediation before court. Almost always faster, cheaper, and less adversarial. Most agreements include clauses like, if a dispute arises, parties agree to return to mediation before pursuing litigation. Honor that. Use that. Give yourself grace. Implementing a new routine, co-parenting with someone you're no longer married to or love, may not even respect or like, rebuilding your financial life, it's all hard. There will be bumps, miscommunications, days you wonder if you made the right decisions. That's normal. What matters is you keep showing up. You keep honoring your agreement. You keep putting kids first. You keep building the life you want. So here's what to do next. Listen, we've covered a lot today. Let me bring it together. Divorce mediation is powerful for people who want control over their future. They want to protect their kids. They want to spend less money on attorneys and other professionals and move forward. But mediation is only as good as the preparation you bring to it. So here are the key principles. Number one, and this first one, I really mean it. Prepare thoroughly. Gather your documents. Understand your legal rights. Get financial clarity. Know what you need, what you can be flexible on, and what your alternatives are. Get clarity on everything you need to know. Two, think in years, not weeks. Decisions you make today ripple throughout your life and your children's lives for decades. Solve for the long term. Three, keep children's needs at the center. Design parenting plans that are developmentally appropriate, support relationships with both of you, and shield them from conflict. Four, manage emotions so they don't manage you. Get support, use grounding techniques, practice de-escalating language, and take breaks when needed. Five, aim for sustainable, livable agreements. You're not trying to destroy your ex. You're building a fair framework for the next chapter. Good enough is good enough. Research tells us people who take this path, who mediate thoughtfully, who focus on children's well-being, who negotiate in good faith, end up with better outcomes. More satisfied with agreements, they comply more consistently, and their relationship with their children are stronger. The relationship with their ex-spouses are more cooperative. That's decades of research showing the same pattern. So what do you do next? In the next 24 hours, start gathering your financial documents. Make a list, tax returns, bank statements, retirement accounts, debt statements. Just start. In 72 hours, consult with a lawyer, schedule a consultation, go in with questions, find out what your rights are, what range of likely outcomes are, get educated. In 1 week, if you haven't chosen the mediator, start researching, ask for recommendations, interview a few, find someone who feels right. And if you've already started mediation, take the time to think about the long-term goals. What does a good life look like 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years? What do you need to do to protect your future? So listen to me. You're not powerless here. This is hard, but you can do it, and you can do it well. I'm rooting for you. Thank you for being with me today. But before we go, I want to remind you, your divorce and mediation doesn't have to be a disaster. With the right support and guidance, it can be the beginning of your best chapter yet. If you're ready to explore how the U 2.0 methodology can help you navigate your divorce with clarity and confidence, I invite you to book a free 30-minute consultation with me. Go to www.reclaimandreboot.me. We'll talk about where you are, where you want to go, and how I can help get you there. Also, please check out my book, U 2.0, Divorce, A Better Way Forward, and the U 2.0 workbook, both available on Amazon.com. And if you found today's episode valuable, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your story matters, your future matters, and you don't have to do this alone. I'm Justin Milrad. Thank you for listening to the Conscious Divorce Podcast. Your transformation starts with clarity, and clarity starts with understanding what's actually true.